That night, he defeated me at the school board meeting, a perfect media strike to paint me as a liar. But he didn't know who sat directly behind him. A forged signature had vaporized my credit score. A $4.8 million education grant had morphed into consulting fees. And my brother's tires were slashed at 3:12 a.m. I thought I was just exposing fraud. Turns out I was lighting a fuse. He was used to winning in fluorescent-lit rooms with crackling microphones. Tonight, that room would capture something else, an arrest warrant being served. My name is Claire Harrow, and I've spent the last decade making sure other people's secrets stay buried in secure servers. As a compliance and data security specialist at Northline Civic Systems, I know exactly how information flows through bureaucratic veins and where it clots. That Tuesday evening, I pulled into my mother's driveway at 7:43 p.m., exhausted from a 12-hour shift debugging firewall logs. The porch light flickered. Mom had been meaning to fix that for 3 years. Inside, Gordon Beckett sat at the kitchen table, papers spread before him like tarot cards predicting my future. "Claire," he didn't look up, "we need to discuss family responsibility." The kitchen smelled of reheated lasagna and his cologne, something expensive that couldn't mask the sourness underneath. Mom stood by the sink, her back to us, scrubbing an already clean pan. "I'm listening." I stayed by the door. "The refinancing paperwork," he slid a stack toward me, "and the car loan renewal. Just need your signature as co-signer." "I told you last month, I'm not co-signing anything." That's when he looked up. Gordon had this way of smiling that never reached his eyes, a politician's muscle memory. As deputy chair of the Tri-County Unified School Board, he'd perfected the art of making threats sound like suggestions. "Your mother and I have supported you through some difficult times." He tapped his pen against the papers. "That apartment after your breakup, the lawyer fees. Maybe it's time you showed some gratitude." Mom's scrubbing intensified, the sound of steel wool on steel grinding, relentless. "I paid you back, every cent." My throat felt tight. "With interest." "Did you?" He leaned back. "Because I have records suggesting otherwise, fuzzy records, the kind that might look different under scrutiny." I understood the game. Gordon collected leverage like some people collected stamps, but I wasn't playing anymore. "Then scrutinize away. I have my own records." The kitchen went quiet, except for the fluorescent bulb's hum. Mom finally turned around, her face carefully neutral. "Claire, don't be dramatic. Just sign the papers." "Irene's right." Gordon's smile widened. "No need for drama. Though I'd hate for your employer to hear about certain discrepancies in your background check. That DUI that somehow vanished from your record. Interesting story there." My hands went cold. There was no DUI, never had been. But Gordon knew how to plant seeds of doubt in bureaucratic soil. "That's a lie and you know it." "Prove it," he shrugged. "Or sign." I walked out. Behind me, I heard him tell my mother, "She'll come around. They always do." At 11:17 p.m., hunched over my laptop in my studio apartment, I discovered the first crack in my financial wall. Credit score 5 and 12. Down from 748 in one day. My fingers shook as I clicked through the details. A second mortgage on a property I'd never owned. A business loan for a company that didn't exist. All bearing my signature, the same signature from a lease agreement I'd scanned and emailed Mom 2 years ago when I'd moved. I called the credit bureau. Closed. Called the fraud hotline. 40-minute wait. I hung up and dialed Evan instead. "Claire." My brother's voice was thick with sleep. "What's wrong?" "I need to crash at your place." No hesitation. Doors unlocked. Evan lived in a converted loft downtown, all exposed brick and salvaged wood. He was waiting with coffee and that concerned brother look that made me want to cry. "Gordon?" he asked. I nodded, showing him my laptop screen. He whistled low. "Jesus, this is—" My phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text was brief. "You can't win against the board." Then another, "Nice apartment. Ground floor must get cold." Evan read over my shoulder. "You're filing a police report." With what evidence? It's his word against mine. And he sits on committees with half the judges in the county. Then we find evidence. He pulled out his own laptop. Lucky for you, your brother minored in being a pain in the ass. We worked until dawn, mapping the paper trail. Every forged document had tells timestamps that didn't match. IP addresses from Gordon's office network. Metadata he'd been too arrogant to scrub. By sunrise, I had a folder titled Proof, but I also had a sick feeling that this was just the beginning. Gordon Beckett had built his kingdom on paper and pixels, and I'd just declared war. Outside, a car idled on the empty street. It pulled away when I looked out the window, but not before I glimpsed the Tri-County School Board parking sticker on its bumper. The River and Pine Bank branch manager's office smelled like leather and lies. Marcus Vale, a man who looked like he ironed his socks, spread the loan documents across his mahogany desk with surgical precision. Ms. Harrow, I understand your concern, but this signature is forged. I placed my folder on his desk. Compare it to this lease agreement from 2022. Someone lifted my signature digitally. Marcus adjusted his glasses. Examining both documents, his poker face cracked slightly. The pixel resolution inconsistencies. Interesting. Interesting enough to investigate. He leaned back, fingers steepled. The loan application was submitted electronically on March 15th, during business hours. Our system logs show the upload from IP address 67.142.88.19. I recognize that IP ranged Tri-County's administrative network. Can you trace the specific terminal? Not without a subpoena, he paused. But I can tell you the applicant listed their employment as consultant for Beckett Civic Partners. My pulse quickened. Gordon's company. One more thing. Marcus slid a rejection letter across the desk. This auto loan denial from last month. You're listed as co-signer. The primary applicant's address is your mother's residence. The fluorescent lights hummed above us. Mom knew. She'd seen this letter and said nothing. At the county courthouse, Evan and I descended into the records archive, a basement that smelled like old paper and broken promises. The clerk, a woman named Dolores, who'd worked there since the Carter administration, barely glanced up. Public records are in rows 12 through 27. Don't reshelve anything. We split up. I took business registrations while Evan tackled property records. For 2 hours. We photographed everything connected to Gordon Beckett or his web of LLCs. Claire, Evan's whisper carried across the silent stacks. Look at this. He held a bid proposal from 2019. Northline Civic Systems had won a $4.8 million federal grant to modernize Tri-County's digital infrastructure. But the payment schedule showed something odd: consulting fees, totaling $742,600 paid to Beckett Civic Partners. For what consulting? I muttered, cross-referencing with my phone. Gordon's company isn't even registered for IT services. We kept digging, invoice after invoice, all following the same pattern. Money flowed from federal grants through the school district, took a detour through Gordon's company, then disappeared into what looked like campaign finance reports. Holy shit! Evan held up his phone, showing a social media post. Gordon's campaign reported exactly $742,600 in private donations last year. My hands shook as I photographed everything. This wasn't just fraud, it was a washing machine for public funds. Back at Evan's apartment, I built my evidence log, every document scanned, tagged, backed up to 3 different cloud services. I'd learned from Gordon, always have copies of your copies. At 2:47 a.m., Evan crashed on the couch while I kept working. The numbers told a story. 8 years of systematic theft, hidden behind educational jargon and bureaucratic smokescreens. Gordon had turned the school district into his personal ATM. My laptop dinged. New email. No sender name, stop digging or start drowning. Attached was a photo of my car in Evans Building's garage. Timestamp from 20 minutes ago. I walked to the window. The street below was empty except for shadows and the occasional taxi, but I knew he was watching. Gordon had eyes everywhere: school board members, city officials, probably half the police force. Another email arrived, this time from Marcus Vale. Ms. Harrow, I've been reviewing additional records. Can you meet tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Come alone. There are things I couldn't say in the office. I closed my laptop and made a decision. Tomorrow, I'd file a formal complaint with the State Financial Control Office. But first, I needed insurance. I spent the remaining hours until dawn creating an encrypted archive, uploading it to a server in Iceland, and writing detailed instructions for Evan. If something happened to me, the evidence would automatically forward to 5 different news outlets and the FBI. As the sun painted Evan's brick walls orange, I heard him stir. "Coffee," he mumbled. "Make it strong. Today we're going nuclear." He sat up, saw my face. "How nuclear are we talking?" I showed him the email about my car. His jaw tightened. "That son of a bitch." "The son of a bitch just made his last mistake," I said. "He threatened us. That means he's scared, and scared people make mistakes." Through the window, I watched the city wake up. Somewhere out there, Gordon Beckett was probably having his morning coffee, confident in his kingdom of forged signatures and phantom invoices. He had no idea what was coming. The State Financial Control Office occupied the 14th floor of a building that screamed government budget beige walls, buzzing lights, and the persistent smell of burnt coffee. Investigator Maya Sloan didn't look like someone who could take down corrupt officials. 5'2", wearing a cardigan with cats on it. Then she smiled, and I saw the shark beneath. "Ms. Harrow, I've reviewed your preliminary complaint." She tapped a pen against a file thick enough to club someone with. "This is comprehensive. 8 years of evidence tends to pile up." "Indeed," she leaned forward. "I'm assigning this to our Civil Special Investigations Unit, but I need to be clear once we open this case. There's no closing it quietly. Gordon Beckett will know he's under investigation within 48 hours. "Good." Her eyebrows rose. "Most people prefer discretion." "Discretion is what let him steal $4.8 million in education funding." "Fair point." Maya stood, walked to her window. The city sprawled below, all glass and possibilities. "From now on, don't go anywhere alone. Men like Beckett don't appreciate their kingdoms crumbling." At 3:12 a.m., my phone exploded with Evan's call. His voice came out in gasps. "Claire, the parking garage, someone?" "Slow down. What happened?" "All 4 tires, slashed, and there's something else." I was already pulling on clothes. "What?" "They left a school board newsletter on the windshield. Tomorrow's date circled in red." My blood chilled. The emergency board meeting Gordon's trap. I met Evan in his building's garage. His Honda looked like it had been attacked by a vindictive Wolverine, but it was the security footage that made my skin crawl. The grainy video showed a figure in a tri-county maintenance uniform and baseball cap, methodically destroying each tire. At 3:11 a.m., they looked directly at the camera. The cap's brim shadowed their face, but their build, their walk, I knew that swagger. "Is that," Evan started. "Not Gordon, one of his people." I zoomed in on the timestamp. "But look at this." In the corner of the frame, barely visible, a silver SUV idling. The quality was too poor for plates, but I caught a glimpse of the rental company sticker. "I need Marcus Vale's banking records access," I muttered. Bet you anything that SUV was rented with a Beckett Civic Partners card. The building's security guard, a kid named Jerome who couldn't have been older than 20, nervously handed us the full footage backup. "I didn't see nothing," he said quickly. "But maybe check the exit cam. Sometimes it catches plates." It did. Partial plate BCK74. I didn't need the full number to know what BCK stood for. By sunrise, Evan's car was on a tow truck, and we were in a rental headed to Marcus Vale's off-site meeting. He'd chosen a diner in Millbrook, 30 minutes outside the city, far from Tri-County's reach. Marcus sat in the back booth, looking like he'd aged 5 years overnight. "They came to my house," he said without preamble. 2 school board members said they were concerned about my cooperation with hostile parties. Which members? I slid into the booth. Garrett Walsh and Patricia Dunn. He pushed a flash drive across the table. "But that's not why I asked you here. I found something else." The waitress brought coffee. Marcus waited until she left. That's $742, $600. It's not the only wash cycle. I pulled 5 years of consulting payments, total $3.2 million, all matching campaign deposits, property purchases, or large cash withdrawals within days. Evan whistled. That's RICO territory. It gets worse. Marcus pulled out a folder. 3 other banks processed similar transactions. Your stepfather has accounts under 7 different business entities. The paper trail. It's a paper hurricane. I pocketed the flash drive. Will you testify? Already gave my statement to someone named Maya Sloan. She seems thorough. She is. I stood. Thank you, Marcus. This took courage. He laughed bitterly. Courage, I'm moving my family to my sister's in Colorado tomorrow. That's not courage, Ms. Harrow. That's survival. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 8 p.m. The agenda, posted online, was vague. Discussion of contractor conduct and fiduciary responsibilities. Translation, public execution. Claire Harrow presiding. I spent the afternoon preparing, not just evidence theater. Gordon understood spectacle. Time to beat him at his own game. You sure about this? Evan asked, as we parked outside the district building. Press vans were already setting up. Word traveled fast in a county where nothing happened. He wanted a show. I checked my phone. Maya Sloan had texted, "We'll be there, row 7. Inside, the meeting room buzzed with anticipation. Gordon sat at the board table. Designer suit impeccable. That politician's smile firmly in place. He caught my eye and winked. The bastard actually winked. I found my seat in the 3rd row, directly in his line of sight. Behind me. I felt rather than saw movement. Row 7. I didn't turn around, but knowing Maya was there steadied my nerves. The gallery filled. Teachers, parents, reporters, even Mom, sitting stiffly in the back corner, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Gordon called the meeting to order at exactly 8 p.m., each word dripping false concern. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here tonight to address serious allegations of misconduct. Game on. The way Derek Morrison's hands shook as he nursed his beer told me everything. Gordon's former colleague from Highland Ridge Works had agreed to meet at a sports bar where the TVs were loud enough to mask conversation. He looked like a man watching for exits. I wondered when someone would come asking, Derek said. Gordon ran the same game at Highland, only smaller scale back then. Tell me about the equipment requisitions. He laughed bitterly. Equipment, right. We'd submit orders for school construction premium grade steel, top shelf electronics. Invoice shows $500K worth of materials. School gets $200K worth. The difference. Consulting fees. Project management overhead. Derek made air quotes. Gordon had it down to a science. Create the need, inflate the cost, pocket the difference. But at Highland, he got sloppy. That's why he jumped to the school board. Would you testify to this? Derek's face went pale. Last guy who tried that got audited by the IRS for 3 straight years. His construction business folded. I slid Maya Sloan's business card across the table. State investigation. Full whistleblower protection. He pocketed it, but his expression remained haunted. Gordon's got judges, cops, county commissioners. You better have more than protection. Back at Northline Civic Systems, I used my security credentials for what I knew would be the last time. My boss was at a conference in Seattle, plausible deniability if everything went south. The server room hummed with electrical potential. I pulled up email archives from the district's shared drive, searching for communications between Gordon's office and our accounting department. At 11:47 p.m., I found gold. Email thread, marked confidential Gordon's assistant, Nancy Wehrman, to our CFO. Per yesterday's discussion, invoice breakdown should align with attached. Mr. Beckett suggests Educational Materials Fund as appropriate allocation. The attachment showed the real scandal. Line items for technology integration services that never happened. Compliance auditing by companies that didn't exist. And repeatedly, the question from Nancy, Should we root through Learning Support Fund as usual? I copied everything, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Each email, each attachment, each metadata tag that proved Gordon had orchestrated the fraud from inside the building where children came to learn. A door slammed somewhere in the building. Security doing rounds, or something worse, I worked faster. Then I found the deleted folder. Someone, probably Nancy, had tried to purge communications from last month, but Northline's system kept 90-day backups. One recovered email made my heart stop. Gee, Harrow girl is sniffing around. Might need the nuclear option. Already have her signature samples from that lease her mother provided. Let me know. N. Dated 2 weeks ago, before my credit score tanked. They'd been planning this. Another email. From Gordon to multiple recipients using private Gmail accounts. Emergency protocols activated. All project documentation to be relocated off-site. Destroy originals. Legal counsel on standby. Timestamp 3 hours after I'd filed with Maya Sloan. My phone buzzed. Evan. Get out, now. Gordon's car just pulled into Northline's lot. I yanked my flash drive, but it was too late. Footsteps in the hallway. I ducked behind a server rack as the door opened. Gordon entered with 2 men I didn't recognize. Their conversation carried clearly in the humming room. Told you she'd come here, Gordon said. Check every terminal. If she downloaded anything, I need to know. What about the investigation? One man asked. Being handled. Maya Sloan's supervisor is an old friend. By Monday, this will be reclassified as a personnel dispute. My blood ran cold. But then Gordon made his mistake. Nancy's already doctoring the emails to show Harrow was the one inflating invoices. Classic whistleblower gone bad. We'll leak it to Channel 7 before the meeting. They left, but not before one of them noted, her access card was used 20 minutes ago. She's probably still in the building. I waited, counting to 300. Then I slipped out through the loading dock, where Evan waited in the rental car, engine running. Drive, I gasped. And call Maya. Gordon's going to... Already did. She's not answering. Evan's knuckles were white on the wheel. Claire, there's something else. Mom called. Said you need to come home. Said it's about fixing this misunderstanding. She's with him. The words tasted like ash. Yeah. Evan turned toward downtown instead. But here's the thing, Lila Bram called too. Who? Gordon's accountant. The young one who always looks terrified. She wants to meet. Tonight. I checked the time, 2:17 a.m. In less than 6 hours. Gordon would paint me as a criminal on morning news. Unless Lila Bram had what I thought she had. Where? 24-hour diner on Riverside. She said to bring Maya Sloan if possible. I tried Maya again. This time, she answered on the first ring. Claire. Thank God. Don't believe anything you hear on the news tomorrow. My supervisor tried to shut down the investigation, but I've already kicked it up to the federal level. Where are you? About to meet Gordon's accountant. She wants to talk. I'll be there in 15. And Claire, whatever she has, it better be good, because Gordon just filed charges against you for corporate espionage. The game had just changed. Gordon thought he'd cornered me, but he'd forgotten something crucial about backing people against walls. Sometimes they come out swinging. Lila Bram looked like she hadn't slept in days. 26 years old, fresh CPA license, and the weight of Gordon Beckett's crimes etched into the shadows under her eyes. She clutched a metallic briefcase like it contained nuclear codes. The Riverside diner at 2:43 a.m. was all fluorescent desperation and burnt coffee. Maya Sloan arrived as we sat down, her government sedan parking next to a lone trucker finishing his meal. Ms. Bram? Maya's voice was gentle but firm. I understand you have information regarding Beckett Civic Partners' financial operations. Lila's hands trembled as she opened the briefcase. I've been Gordon's accountant for 18 months. I thought it was just creative bookkeeping at first, legal gray areas. But then... She pulled out an external hard drive, small and black. Dual payroll systems, ghost employees who only exist on paper, shell companies layered 7 deep. And this? She produced a printed spreadsheet, the round-trip ledger. I leaned forward, The spreadsheet showed a clear pattern: public funds in, consulting fees out, campaign contributions back, then personal purchases, each transaction meticulously coded. Gordon made me maintain 2 sets of books, Lila continued. The official ones for audits, and the real ones. This drive has both. 5 years of systematic theft. Maya was already photographing pages. Why come forward now? Because yesterday he asked me to add Claire's name to backdated invoices. Make her the architect of the whole scheme. Lila looked at me directly. I became an accountant to help organizations, not destroy whistleblowers. We'll need you to testify, Maya said. I know, Lila's voice steadied. My resignation letter is dated for tomorrow morning. I've already moved my essential belongings to my sisters in Oregon. Evan, who'd been silent, suddenly spoke. Show them the video. Lila nodded, pulling out her phone. 3 weeks ago, I started recording meetings, for my own protection. The video was grainy, but the audio was clear. Gordon's voice. If the feds sniff around, everything points to Harrow, her access to systems, her signature on documents thanks to her mother's help with those lease agreements. Beautiful frame job. Another voice, Nancy Werman. What about the actual fund transfers? Already modified the logs. Shows her terminal authorizing every transaction. Remember, she's the IT security expert. Who else could have done it? The video ended. Maya's expression had gone from professional to predatory. Ms. Bram, I'm placing you in protective custody immediately. This evidence is worth $4.8 million in stolen funds. I finished. Exactly what Gordon diverted. Lila pushed the hard drive to Maya. Everything's there. Passwords in this envelope. The FBI forensic accountants will have a field day. They're already en route, Maya revealed. This case just went federal 3 hours ago. Gordon's supervisor play backfired spectacularly. Turns out trying to shut down a state investigation raises red flags at justice. We spent the next 2 hours in that diner. Maya taking Lila's detailed statement while Evan and I pored over the spreadsheets. The scope was staggering. Gordon hadn't just stolen education funds, he'd created an entire shadow economy within the school district. Look at this. I pointed to a series of entries. Maintenance contracts for schools that were closed 5 years ago, summer programs that never happened. He was billing for ghost services. And the board approved it all, Evan asked. Maya answered without looking up from her notes. 3 board members received consulting contracts from Beckett Civic Partners. Guess how they voted on his proposals? As dawn crept across the diner's windows, Lila finally relaxed slightly. There's one more thing. Gordon keeps physical copies of everything in a storage unit. Old habits from his construction days. Unit 447 at Secure Store on Industrial Boulevard. Maya immediately made a call. Judge Morrison, Maya Sloan. I need a warrant. By 6 a.m., local news was running Gordon's version, rogue IT contractor, attempts to frame board member, but by 7 a.m., they had to issue corrections as FBI agents were seen entering the Tri-County School District offices. We should get you somewhere safe, Maya told me. Gordon's going to escalate when he realizes Lila flipped. No, I stood, exhausted but resolute. The board meeting is tonight. I'll be there. Claire. He scheduled this circus to humiliate me publicly, but now we have everything: Marcus's bank records, Derek's testimony about Highland Ridge, Lila's books, the storage unit. He wanted a show. Let's give him one he'll never forget. Maya studied me for a long moment. The warrant team hits the storage unit at 4 p.m. Whatever's in there, we'll have it before the meeting. As we left the diner, Lila stopped me. I'm sorry I didn't come forward sooner. You came forward when it mattered most, I said. That takes courage. She attempted a smile. My dad always said numbers don't lie. Guess he was right. Outside, the morning sun painted the city in shades of gold and possibility. In 12 hours, Gordon Beckett would sit at his board meeting, confident in his manufactured narrative. He had no idea that his own books were about to tell the real story. The Tri-County School Board meeting room thrummed with hostile energy. Channel 7's cameras swept the packed gallery while reporters hunched over laptops, live tweeting what they'd been told would be my public execution. Gordon sat at the center of the board table, presidential in his navy suit and school tie. The other board members flanked him like disciples at the Last Supper. He shuffled papers with practiced authority, letting anticipation build. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gordon's voice filled the room as he called the meeting to order. "We're here tonight to address serious allegations of financial misconduct by a contractor with access to our most sensitive systems." I sat in the third row, spine straight, hands folded. Behind me, in row 7, I felt the invisible weight of Maya Sloane's presence. She'd texted me at 7:55. "Storage unit was a goldmine. Enjoy the show." Gordon clicked a remote. The projection screen showed my employee photo beside ominous red text, "Security breach contractor misconduct." "Ms. Claire Harrow," he intoned, "has been entrusted with our district's digital infrastructure. That trust has been violated." He clicked again. Spreadsheets appeared the same ones I'd found, but altered. My name replaced his on authorization fields. Timestamps modified to match my access logs. These documents show a pattern of fraudulent invoicing spanning 6 months, ghost services, inflated costs, all traced to Ms. Harrow's terminal. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A reporter in front of me started typing furiously. Mom, sitting in the back corner, stared at her hands. "Furthermore," Gordon continued, his voice dripping false regret, "when confronted, Ms. Harrow broke into our systems after hours of federal crime attempting to plant evidence against board members who uncovered her scheme." Board member Patricia Dunn leaned into her microphone. "Mr. Beckett, what's the total financial impact?" "Preliminary estimates suggest nearly $750,000 in fraudulent charges." Gasps. Cameras swiveled to catch crowd reactions. Gordon was good keeping the number below the real theft, making it seem like I was a small-time crook rather than exposing his million-dollar empire. "Ms. Harrow," Gordon looked directly at me, eyes glinting with triumph. "Would you care to respond to these allegations?" I stood slowly, feeling hundreds of eyes track my movement. The microphone at the public comment podium seemed miles away. "Yes, Mr. Beckett, I would—" My heels clicked against the linoleum, the only sound in the sudden silence. I reached the podium, adjusted the microphone, and pulled out a single folder. "Board members, concerned citizens, I have 3 points to address. First, the signature on those fraudulent documents." I placed a document on the visualizer. "This is the lease agreement I signed in 2022. Note the signature." I overlaid another sheet. "This is the signature from the alleged fraudulent invoice." When we zoom in, the screen showed both signatures at 400% magnification. Identical. Pixel-perfect identical. Signatures vary naturally. Pressure, angle, speed. These are digitally copied. I let that sink in. Someone with access to my mother's files where she kept my lease agreement lifted my signature. Gordon's smile flickered. "Second point." I switched documents. "The invoices Mr. Beckett showed were allegedly authorized from my terminal, but let's check the metadata." The screen filled with technical data. I highlighted specific lines. "These files were created at 10:41 p.m. on March 15th. According to Northline's access logs, I was badged out at 6:17 p.m. that day. However," I clicked to another screen. "The district's parking system shows Mr. Beckett's vehicle in the lot until 11:23 p.m. same night." Board members shifted uncomfortably. Garrett Walsh whispered urgently to Patricia Dunn. "Third point." I placed my final document. "Mr. Beckett mentioned $750,000 in fraud. Interesting number, because the real fraud—" "This is outrageous." Gordon stood, face flushing. "Security, please escort." "Is $4.8 million." The room erupted. Gordon's gavel strikes were drowned in the chaos. I raised my voice. Federal education grants, diverted through Beckett Civic Partners, consulting fees that became campaign contributions. 3 board members received kickbacks. Order! Gordon roared. This meeting is in recess. Clear the... A clear, authoritative voice cut through the noise. Mr. Beckett, please remain seated. Everyone turned. Maya Sloan stood in row 7, holding up her badge. Special Investigator, State Financial Control Office, this meeting will continue. The room fell silent except for the whir of cameras swinging toward Maya. Board members, Maya continued, walking forward. I suggest you hear Ms. Harrow's evidence. The federal authorities certainly have. I saw the moment Gordon understood. His politician's mask slipped, revealing something cornered and dangerous. You have no authority here, he said. No, Maya agreed pleasantly. But they do? The doors opened. 2 FBI agents entered, followed by someone I recognized from the morning raid, the federal prosecutor. Gordon's hands gripped the table edge, knuckles white. Around him, board members leaned away as if corruption might be contagious. I looked directly at him, this man who'd terrorized my family, stolen from children, and thought his kingdom was untouchable. You wanted a show. Gordon, here's your finale. Behind me, someone in the gallery began slow clapping, then another. By the time I returned to my seat, half the room was applauding while Gordon sat frozen, watching his world collapse on livestream. But we weren't done yet. Maya Sloan walked to the podium with the measured stride of someone about to detonate a bomb. The federal prosecutor flanked her while FBI agents positioned themselves at the exits. Gordon's face had gone from red to ash gray. Mr. Beckett, Maya's voice carried clearly through the hushed room. I have here a warrant for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, embezzlement of federal funds, money laundering, and racketeering. She placed the warrant on the board table. Gordon didn't reach for it. Additionally, warrants have been issued for Nancy Werman and board members Garrett Walsh and Patricia Dunn. Patricia Dunn shot up. This is insane, I demand. Sit down. Ms. Dunn, the federal prosecutor spoke for the first time. Your lawyer can demand things later. Maya turned to the gallery. What Ms. Harrow began to explain is the tip of an iceberg. Mr. Beckett diverted $4.8 million in federal education funds through a network of shell companies. The evidence includes... She nodded to someone in the back. Lila Bram entered, escorted by another agent. Gordon's mask finally shattered completely. Dual accounting books maintained by Beckett Civic Partners, Maya continued. Ghost employees, falsified service contracts, and a detailed ledger showing exactly how public money became private gain. Lila took the witness microphone. Her voice was steady now. I maintained Gordon Beckett's books for 18 months. Everything is documented. Every diverted dollar, every fake invoice, every kickback. You signed a confidentiality agreement, Gordon snarled. Whistleblower protection supersedes NDAs in cases of federal fraud, the prosecutor said mildly. As you well know, Mr. Beckett, or should know, given your law degree. Maya produced another document. We also have Marcus Vale from River and Pine Bank, who confirmed the money laundering trail, Derek Morrison from Highland Ridge Works, who testified to Mr. Beckett's prior schemes, and this. She clicked the remote. The screen showed Gordon's storage unit, boxes of documents being cataloged by FBI agents. 5 years of original documents, including these particularly interesting items: forged board resolutions, pre-signed blank invoices, and correspondence planning to frame Ms. Harrow for your crimes. Board member Jennifer Reeves, who'd remained silent, suddenly spoke. I motioned to immediately suspend Gordon Beckett, Garrett Walsh, and Patricia Dunn from their board positions pending investigation. Second, called another member. You can't, Gordon started. All in favor. 4 hands raised. More than enough. Motion carries. Jennifer turned to Gordon. You're suspended. Please surrender your board materials. Gordon stood slowly, that dangerous cornered animal look intensifying. You think you've won. I know where every body is buried in this county. Judges, commissioners, police chiefs. Mr. Beckett, one of the FBI agents stepped forward. You have the right to remain silent. The words hung in the air like a funeral bell. Channel 7's camera zoomed in as the agent continued the Miranda warning. Gordon's hands were pulled behind his back. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed through the room. As they led him past my row, Gordon stopped. For a moment, our eyes met. His were full of rage and disbelief. Mine were empty of everything but exhaustion. "This isn't over," he hissed. "Yes," I said quietly. "It is." They led him out, followed by Patricia Dunn protesting loudly, and Garrett Walsh, silent and pale. The room erupted in chaos, reporters shouting questions, citizens demanding answers, board members huddling in emergency session. Through it all, I sat perfectly still. Mom hadn't moved from her corner seat. Our eyes met across the crowd. She looked older, smaller somehow. Then she gathered her purse and left without a word. Maya appeared at my shoulder. "You did it." "We did it." "The investigation will take months. You'll need to testify, but the immediate danger is over." She paused. "How does it feel?" I thought about it. 8 days ago, Gordon had tried to force my signature on documents. Now his signature would go on a federal booking form. Like justice. Evan pushed through the crowd, grinning widely. That was beautiful. The look on his face when Lila walked in. "Ms. Harrow." A reporter shoved a microphone at me. "What made you risk everything to expose this corruption?" I stood, suddenly aware of cameras capturing this moment for tomorrow's headlines. The room quieted, waiting. This isn't about revenge or personal vindication. It's about 4.8 million stolen from students who need technology, teachers who need resources, and communities that trusted their leadership. I looked directly into Channel 7's camera. Every forged document, every ghost invoice, every diverted dollar that was theft from children's futures. That's what made it worth the risk. More questions flew, but Maya and Evan formed a protective wedge, guiding me toward the exit. As we reached the doors, Jennifer Reeves caught my arm. "Ms. Harrow, the board will be conducting a full audit. We'd like to hire Northline, specifically you, to oversee it, if you're willing." I almost laughed. "Ask me in a week, after I've slept." Outside, the night air was crisp with approaching autumn. FBI vehicles were pulling away. Gordon visible through the back window of one, his profile rigid with fury. Tomorrow there would be lawyers, depositions, and media circus. Gordon's empire would be dissected piece by piece. Some of his co-conspirators would flip, others would fight. The ripples would spread through the county's power structure for months. But tonight, standing between my brother and the investigator who'd believed me, watching the vehicles disappear into the darkness, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. The boardroom erupted in procedural chaos. Jennifer Reeves banged the gavel, trying to restore order as reporters shouted questions and citizens demanded explanations. But the real action was happening in the corner where the remaining board members huddled with the district's legal counsel. "Motion to void all contracts with Beckett Civic Partners, effective immediately," Jennifer announced when order resumed. "Second," 3 voices called simultaneously. "All in favor." Unanimous. Even Gordon's former allies couldn't distance themselves fast enough. Jennifer continued, her voice gaining strength. "Motion to initiate full forensic audit of all district finances for the past 5 years." Another unanimous vote. Final motion to formally apologize to Ms. Claire Harrow for the board's failure in oversight and to thank her for her courage in exposing this corruption. The vote was unanimous again. The gallery burst into applause. I stood there, feeling strangely numb as the sound washed over me. "Ms. Harrow," Jennifer spoke directly to me, "on behalf of the Tri-County School Board, we offer our sincere apology and deepest gratitude. Your actions have saved our district." Behind her, the federal prosecutor was coordinating with Maya. More arrests would follow. The investigation would spiderweb through the county's infrastructure, catching everyone who'd fed at Gordon's trough. A young teacher approached me as I gathered my things. "My students' computer lab funding was cut last year. Now I know where it went. Thank you." Then another person, and another. parents, teachers, taxpayers, all with stories of programs cut, resources diverted, promises broken, each handshake, each thank you added weight to what we'd accomplished. Evan drove me home not to his apartment, but to mine. For the first time in over a week, I felt safe enough to return. The locks had been changed, courtesy of a locksmith Maya had recommended. "You know Mom's gonna call," Evan said as we pulled up. "Not tonight. She's got her own reckoning to face." Inside my apartment, everything was exactly as I'd left it that panicked night. I walked to my laptop, still open on the kitchen table, and closed it gently. That chapter was over. My phone buzzed. Marcus Vale. Saw the news. Board voted to return all diverted funds to the district. Your courage made that possible. Then Derek Morrison. Gordon's old company just got raided. Dominoes falling everywhere. Stay strong. Finally, a text from Lila Bram. Heading to my sister's tonight. New job interview, Monday. Thank you for showing me what real integrity looks like. I poured a glass of wine and stood at my window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Gordon was being processed. His designer suit traded for county orange. His kingdom of paper and lies reduced to a case number. The news was already spreading. Channel 7 led with "School Board Scandal, Whistleblower Exposes Multi-million-dollar Fraud." By morning, it would be statewide. By next week, the feds would announce more arrests. But I wasn't thinking about next week. I was thinking about a conversation from 2 years ago, when Gordon had first joined our family. "Power isn't about money," he told me over dinner. "It's about making people believe you're untouchable." He'd been wrong. Power, real power, was about truth, about standing up when everyone told you to sit down, about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. My phone rang. "Mom," I let it go to voicemail. Evan had asked me earlier what I wanted now that it was over. The answer was simple: to do my job, to secure systems and protect data, to ensure no one else could do what Gordon had done. Tomorrow, I'd go back to Northline Civic Systems. My boss would probably have questions, maybe concerns, but I'd show him the board's resolution, their request for my continued service. The very skills Gordon had tried to use against me would now help rebuild what he'd destroyed. The district's money would be recovered, most of it. Anyway, programs would be funded. That teacher would get her computer lab. Kids would have the resources they deserved. As for Gordon, federal prison would be his new kingdom. No school board meetings to run, no campaigns to fund, no stepfamily to terrorize. Just concrete, schedules, and the knowledge that a woman he'd tried to destroy had brought down his empire with nothing but truth and courage. I raised my wine glass to the window, toasting the city that had been Gordon's realm. "This is for every forged signature," I whispered. "Every stolen dollar, every person you stepped on." The city lights twinkled back, indifferent and eternal. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, for the first time in years, I slept without fear. Justice had been served, and it tasted like freedom. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Please drop a comment below and let me know what you thought about Claire's journey and her fight for justice. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the hype button so more people can discover this tale of courage and truth prevailing over corruption. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to share more stories with you.